today's video, I have a very exciting one for you guys. We're actually going to be breaking down the weather the way we normally do. So we're going to go through all the normal stuff, the precipitation total, the snowfall, the temperatures. But we're actually going to break down how things have gone so far for May into June, and then kind of compare it to our analogs. If you guys remember from years past, we've used analogs in our fall and winter forecasts for years now. And I really want to get back to the basics of what made direct weather so accurate in the monthly and seasonal forecasts. I feel like this is kind of like something that is looking inward, obviously, but I feel like modeling and weather models in general have become too relied on, and I really want to get back to the basics of what I firmly believe in leads to an accurate forecast. So we're going to compare that to the analog years that we're going to be using this year so far, and what we can expect for the summer and maybe even the fall and winter. Eventually we're going to be talking about with those analogs, basically using the El Nino years for summers, June, July, August timeframe. So we're going to get a look at that in a little bit. If you want to check out our trilogy maps and make great looking weather maps, you can check that out in the description and pinned comment down below, by the way, for the highest definition, most customizable maps anywhere on the internet. I haven't mentioned that in a few days. But as we can see, literally just heading into this afternoon, we can see that this area continues to just deal with tons and tons of storminess, and that has been the case for quite a while. Already by Sunday, we see something changing though. We see a lot of activity moving into this area. When we look at the analogs later, keep this in mind, okay? Because this is the area that typically we see above average precipitation in years like this year we're heading into. By Monday, we see this moving a lot further eastward, and we see the East Coast actually dealing with quite a bit of this. A very strong cold front for that afternoon into that evening with lots of thunderstorm activity. That does move out, brings colder air, but we get another storm system and we move into a wetter pattern overall for the southeast, as you can see. So we see from Oklahoma, Arkansas through the deeper south and into the southeast, we see some storminess because of that second line of storms moving in midweek. So Wednesday, Thursday timeframe. And then we could see by later in the week, we do get a couple of storm systems as well. This is heading towards Saturday the 17th and into Sunday the 18th, Father's Day. We can see some of this lingering. This is for that evening. So as you can see, we do get quite a bit of this along that southeast coast. And then for Monday, what we see is we get a lot of this activity building back in for the west. Jet stream is doing about like this. And we could begin to see a lot of this move eastward again, or are we going to see it really just stick over the west and we get high and dry for the east again? That is not what I expect, but that is possible. Of course, anything is possible with the weather. As we look at the total precipitation, we can see that a lot of the activity has shifted towards this part of the nation, which is what we've been expecting to occur. It has just taken so long to finally take place. And I think that we're at a point now where we can see it really taking hold. We can also see there is some activity out west, so it's not a night and day difference here. There is still some stuff happening out west as well. It just looks to mostly shift the majority of that energy into these portions of the east, specifically the southeast here, and then as you can see the northeast and even the southeast of Canada there. Total snowfall. We're at the 10th of June now, Saturday, and we can see there is still snowfall for some of these areas. So very interesting to see tons and tons of snow still showing up here on the models. So we're going to have to wait and see when this is going to finally come to an end. We're getting very close to when we're going to talk about those analogs and how things have gone so far, so stay tuned for it. As we can see, our temperature pattern is expected to be cold. We get that warm up through the weekend, so things are looking pretty warm. But then we get a cold front blasting through for Monday into Tuesday for the east, and that brings a very brief but pretty intense cool down, as you can see here for the east. And this is bringing 10 to 15 degree below normal temperatures. So cooler temperatures back on the way. But we begin to see over time as we reach towards the weekend and beyond, warmth is the trend for the east. We see that trending in, and also look at this cold air mass here, this negative PNA. This is going to continue to encourage warmth moving into the east, and likely, I mean, we're already seeing it as it's been 80s for a couple of days now in the east, and it's expected to kind of stay that way. Finally seeing a kind of long-term summer pattern setting in a couple of months. I'm going to regret hoping for this because it's going to be so darn hot, and I'm already going to be ready for the fall. But as of now, I just want the 80s and summer to be here. I'm ready for it as it is June. As we keep this going, okay, we can see that that warmth actually just continues to trend in stronger and stronger and stronger, and this is by the 25th. Overall, we have warmth here, a little bit of cooler temperatures there for the Northeast and Mid-Atlantic. This is likely some backdoor cold air working its way in from Canada, alongside some lower pressure being in the area on average here. That is likely what's causing that, but we still have this large cold bubble here, and this is going to continue to encourage the warmth to rise up as we're seeing. So as long as that's the case, this should be the trend, and it looks like the later 2/3 of June are going to be mostly featuring this type of a pattern. Now let's move into it. This is officially the last 90 days of precipitation anomalies, and just for reference, if we were to look at the last 30 days, it's about the same thing. So this is going to load in. It's going to take a second here. There we go. So it's almost the same exact thing. This is the past 30 days. So this is May 9th to June 9th. So we're one day behind here on the data because the 10th is not completely done yet. But this is what we've seen. Very substantial amounts of precipitation along those Rockies and plains, as we've talked about. And then look at how nothing has happened for the Ohio Valley, Mid-Atlantic, and portions of the Southeast and deeper South here. As you can see, Louisiana and Mississippi have been below average. It's mostly just this Southeast area for Georgia, Alabama, South Carolina, and Florida that have been still above average. These red areas are 3 inches below normal, and I'm pretty sure that pretty much means that you've seen no precipitation in most of the red areas, because most areas average about 3 inches per month. So on a 30-day basis, that usually means that you've seen pretty much nothing. These areas have seen probably about double their average precipitation. And same thing, well, with Florida here, it's probably about a third, something like that, because they average a bit more. But the blue areas here are 3 inches above average on the past 30 days. Absolute madness. Let's move this back to the past 90 days. And actually, the red means the same thing here. And a lot of these red and white areas here, they're getting kind of pinkish. That's like 5 or 6 inches below average over the past 90 days. See a lot of that for eastern Pennsylvania as well. These areas are particularly dry and possibly moving into pretty interesting drought conditions here. But as you can see, over the past 90 days, this has been the trend here. So that is what we've seen, which is interesting because we're going to take a look at our analogs here. This is typically what the precipitation would be like in our El Nino years, June to August. We are primarily using 2015, 2009, and then 2004. So if you're kind of more of a numbers person or a history person, or you know a lot about weather and climate, these are some of the years where we had El Ninos during June to August. These are actually like the past 3 that we've had. Now, for our winter forecast, we're thinking about using these. We're thinking about using 2019. We're thinking about using 2002. And we're thinking about using 2014 as well, as 2014 was the ascension into the El Nino that became the 2015 El Nino. So 2014 is actually the year that it started. So it kind of looks similar to that. So those are just some of the years that we're using as our analogs for the winter, if you're curious, and fall potentially. But for now, these are the ones that we're for sure using here for the summertime. And as you can see in these blue areas, we should be experiencing above average precipitation throughout these areas. And I mean, when you just saw what you saw, these are exactly the areas that have seen nearly no precipitation so far over the past 30 days. So things really, really need to turn around for us to be on par with what the past El Nino summers have been like. There hasn't been a lot of them, actually. You can see we had to go back pretty far for just our 3rd most recent El Nino summer, 2004. And then 2009 and then 2015. So we've seen a lot more La Niñas recently, and a lot less El Niños. But this is what typically happens. It looks like we usually have a lot of storms moving through this way, above average precipitation for these areas. And we get a little bit less here for a lot of the Gulf states, as you can see, into the southeast, and also for the upper Midwest on these 3 years at least. So this isn't for all El Niños. Also notice that we're using the 1991, not 2091, 1991 to 2002 average time frame, as this is the most recent averages. So over the past 30 or 29 years or so, this is the average precipitation and temperatures during that time frame. So as climate obviously changes for whatever reason you believe it's changing, the numbers don't lie that things are obviously changing. So I don't know if there's anybody out there that believes that the climate is not changing at all, but you kind of just have to walk outside to know that climate isn't a static thing that just stays the same. We obviously see it evolve and change over long-term periods of time. So to use the most recent long-term average is the best way to go. So 1991 to 2020 is going to be mostly the most accurate way to go to compare to what is normal during that time frame, if that makes sense. Very long-winded there, but that is my thoughts. Temperatures, if you're curious, from June to August over those 3 El Nino summers looked like this. Below average temperatures actually in these areas, so right on par with our summer forecast. I actually hadn't looked at this to make that summer forecast, so it is interesting to see that kind of in great agreement with that. But also, this is actually a lot more on par with what we've been experiencing compared to the precipitation. This looks a lot closer to what we've seen through June and the later portion of May. By the way, for summer, this is the June 1st through the last day of August. That's meteorological summer. So this isn't the calendar summer. This is for the meteorological summer time frame. As you can see, warmer temperatures here for the Northwest. A little bit, again, more on par with what we have been seeing. So this is very interesting to see this actually in good agreement, this in really, really bad agreement, actually almost the polar opposite. So let me know if you find this very, very interesting, guys. We want to do more stuff like this. I think it's easy for most of you to understand. So let me know if you want to see more of these analogs and long-term climate videos, because I can make these for the fall, the rest of the summer, the hurricane season, the winter. Hopefully we're going to be making a lot more videos like this like we used to do back in the good old days. So let me know down below. Be sure to check out those trilogy maps like I mentioned in the description and pinned comment, guys. Also, be sure to subscribe for daily weather uploads as we upload every single day. You can even hit the bell icon for daily notifications when we upload so you never miss one. Also, be sure to like the video if you did enjoy it, leave a comment down below, and I'll see you guys in the next video.